Welcome to Mini Stories, where we will be listening to Reddit stories. Am I the asshole for telling my stepdaughter her friend's mom is the reason her dad and I are divorcing? My 54 female husband 50 male has been going to our neighbor, 34 female, for advice, and it makes me uncomfortable. My husband, Jack, has been spending a lot of time with our neighbor, Sophie. It is worth noting that Jack and Sophie had an affair when she was 19. He was with his ex, and she was with an ex-boyfriend at the time. Sophie is a widow as her husband died in 2021. Jack and I also married in 2021. Jack and Sophie remained friendly after their affair, partly because their daughters were and still are friends. They've been best friends since primary school. Jack and I have been having some issues in our marriage, and we have been going to counseling for the past 6 months. I brought up in counseling that his friendship with Sophie makes him uncomfortable because he had previously had an affair with her. Jack argued that she is just a friend and that neither of them have those feelings anymore. Nor is Sophie interested in having a romantic relationship because no one compares to her late husband. That is apparently something she has said to him after he suggested setting her up on a date with a younger coworker who had expressed an interest in her. There's a lot of crossover between her job and his, which is part of the reason they remained close. In our last session, Jack admitted that he had been going to Sophie for her advice. He's been going to her to get advice on our relationship as well as an issue with his daughter. The issue with his daughter, I understand because it is something that Sophie has experience with and she had a unique perspective that really did help him. The fact they have been discussing our relationship, I don't feel comfortable with. Jack has been really dismissive about it, arguing that it's the same as me going to my sister for advice. It's not the same. He had an affair with this woman. I recently saw Sophie in the local coffee shop and she was friendly with me, asking how I was doing and if my stepdaughter was doing better. I asked her if something was going on between her and Jack. She denied that anything was going on between her and Jack. I asked her to stop giving Jack advice because it's damaging our relationship. Sophie said that she wasn't going to stop giving her friend advice, and that it wasn't her fault that I was insecure in my relationship, but that she doesn't see Jack as anything as a friend, despite what I think. Sophie reiterated several times that she was just friends with Jack and that she isn't that troubled teenager who had an affair with a married man anymore, and that she didn't want to implode her life again. When I got home, I told Jack that I didn't want him to see Sophie anymore. Jack argued with me, saying he wasn't going to stop seeing Sophie when nothing is going on between them. He offered to show me his texts with Sophie, but I told him that I didn't trust him not to delete any texts that he knew would upset me. Jack got frustrated and told me I was being ridiculous by accusing him of being deceitful. When his daughter came home, she was upset because Sophie had texted her daughter after our conversation and told her to come straight home as she didn't want her daughter to get pulled into whatever is going on between Jack and I like she had been. His daughter was angry and accused me of ruining her friendship before storming up to her bedroom, so Jack is also angry with me about that. I'm just not sure what else to do. Is there anything I can do? The fact he is constantly going to a woman he had an affair with for advice is just making me feel uncomfortable, and nothing he does feels reassuring. TLDR, husband is seeking advice from his ex-affair partner and it makes me feel uncomfortable. Both see nothing wrong with it and deny an affair. Update, we were meant to go to a counseling session this morning, however Jack had canceled the session and any further sessions. Jack does not want to continue counseling as he has filed for divorce. He said it was something he had been considering for a while. Apparently when he had gone to talk to Sophie the first time, it was to get her recommendation for a divorce lawyer, but she had tried to convince him that we just needed to work out our issues. Jack said that he told her that he had lost trust in me and nothing we did was fixing it. The way I've been acting over him and Sophie also cemented that to him. She gave him the name of a friend who is a divorce lawyer, but told him that he was making a mistake. It turns out that when Sophie's daughter didn't come to our house as planned after school, it was because Jack had told Sophie he had planned to tell me about the divorce that evening. He backed out on telling me after his daughter came home upset, not wanting to rock the boat with her. My conversation with Sophie was just the excuse she used. If I'm honest, I still don't trust that nothing has been going on between them. The whole thing between them is weird. But my marriage is over, so what they do isn't my problem. I'm not going to fight to be with someone who lies to my face and states they don't trust me. Relevant comments OP, honestly though, was the fact that they stayed friends, not just acquaintances, because of their daughters? Not a giant red flag for you at the beginning of your relationship? I am not at all blaming you for this, but how did you rationalize it to yourself before? No, I knew they were friendly before our relationship. I moved into the community just after the affair blew up. To start with, they were just people who would be polite to each other in the street, but as the girls got older, and they started to have to interact more, they became friends. When Jack and I got together, Sophie pulled away from the friendship, but after her husband died, she reached out to Jack. When she reached out to Jack, I figured it was just Sophie's way of coping with her grief as her world fell apart and she would pull away again. OP again. I wish I knew why he thinks that she can give some insights to our marriage. Part of me wondered if him going to her for advice is because he wants legal advice, but she works in criminal law, not family law. Sophie is able to relate to his daughter because they both have an ED. She was able to help him navigate dealing with his daughter without pushing her away. If I bring Sophie up during our sessions, he shuts it down because to him Sophie isn't the problem and threatens to stop going to the sessions. I knew they were friendly before our relationship. To start with, they were just people who would be polite to each other in the street, but as the girls got older, and they started to have to interact more, they became friends. When Jack and I got together, Sophie pulled away from the friendship, but after her husband died, she reached out to Jack. When she reached out to Jack, I figured it was just Sophie's way of coping with her grief as her world fell apart and she would pull away. Update: Jack and I are getting divorced after 2 years of marriage. Jack has 2 children, but this concerns his daughter, Ella, 15 female. The day Jack told me he wanted a divorce, we told the children after school. Ella was upset when she found out we are divorcing and went to her room. She came down after tea when it was just me and her in the house. Jack and his son had gone out. She asked me why her dad and I were getting divorced and wanted to know if it was because of her. Ella has struggled with an ED, and while it had caused some strain because we couldn't agree on how to help Ella, it is not the reason. I told Ella that she and her brother are not the reason for the divorce, but that her best friends, Imogen 15 female, mom, Sophie 34 female, is. Sophie and Jack had an affair when she was 19. When the affair was exposed, Sophie's life basically imploded while Jack's pretty much remained the same. Just to state, Imogen is not Jack's daughter. They are friends now, but after the affair they would just be polite in the street and became friendlier over the years as the girls became close friends at school. I told Ella that Jack's continued friendship with Sophie and the running to her for advice is why we are getting divorced. Ella asked if Jack was having an affair with Sophie. I told her that Jack was denying having an affair with Sophie again, but I suspected it. She asked what I meant by again, so I told her that Sophie and Jack had an affair when Jack was married to her mom. Ella has not been speaking to Jack since our conversation. She has also lashed out at Imogen, telling her that her mom is a whore and is the reason her family is falling apart. They got into a physical fight at school, which resulted in both Jack and Sophie getting called in to talk about it. In the meeting, Ella told them everything I had told her the night before and blamed Sophie for ruining her family again. Jack told her that Sophie isn't the reason. Jack told Ella the reason for the divorce is because he no longer trusted me because of a mistake I had made which had sent us to therapy. Months of therapy weren't able to repair his trust in me. After Jack and Ella came home, she is now not talking to me either. Jack is furious that I said anything to Ella and that I ruined Ella's friendship with Imogen. Jack snapped that it was not my place to say anything to Ella. He was angry that I was still stuck on his friendship with Sophie, and continues to maintain nothing is going on. He told me that Imogen told Sophie in the meeting that she wants to move to a new school, where no one knows her mom is a whore, and that was my fault. Am I the asshole? Ella asked me for a reason and I told her, I do believe Sophie is the true reason as the relationship between them is weird. Verdict, asshole. Relevant comments. Numish77 info, what is the mistake made that caused you to go to therapy? OP replied, I kissed another man on a night out with my sister and some friends. One of our friends told him before I was able to. It was a stupid mistake, but I had been enjoying the attention after feeling neglected by Jack. Haunted reader, so you cheated but then told his daughter that him cheating years earlier in a different relationship was the reason for the divorce? OP replied, yes, I did. I have suspected for a while that he and Sophie are in an affair. His relationship with her has made me uncomfortable, long before we started therapy. He runs to her for advice, including about our relationship. I did bring this up in therapy, but he has constantly denied anything going on between them. Update, this blew up more than I thought it would. Both Ella and her brother were aware of the kiss. They were there when Jack was told. I referred to it as a mistake as that is what Jack refers to it as. He has said that he didn't consider the kiss to be cheating because I was drunk. I have moved out of the house since I made this post, and I am now staying with my sister until I find a place of my own. At the weekend, Ella reached out to Imogen and apologized for lashing out at her at school. They look like they've made up as Ella stayed at Imogen's over the weekend. Before she left, I apologized to Ella and told her that I shouldn't have dragged her into this. Ella told me that she would never forgive me, especially for damaging her friendship with Imogen, and is glad that her dad is divorcing me. I offered to pay for the girls to do something together, but Ella refused, saying she didn't want to take my dirty money. I also apologized to Jack, who told me that it was Sophie who needed the apology, not him, as it was her life I had tried to ruin without a shred of evidence. I tried telling him that I just didn't believe that he and Sophie weren't having an affair, and he snapped, telling me that there is nothing going on with Sophie, and she had actually just started seeing someone. He found out about this because she went to him for advice, as he is the only person she knows who has also lost a spouse and dated again. He then told me that he wanted me to move out, as Ella had told him that she wasn't going to return home while I was still here. So, yeah, I've destroyed my relationship with Jack and his children because I was insecure. It's my own doing. I am the asshole. Comments, I did the maths too, and Imogen could be his, right? The daughters are 15, the mother is 34, she was 19 when she slept with the husband, maybe that's why they're still friends? OP claims to know that Jack is not the father. Also, he cheated on his pregnant or soon-to-be pregnant wife when he was 34 with a 19-year-old, what an awful person. I wonder whether there's been a DNA test to confirm he's not the father. I wonder if there are any similarities that make you wonder whether that's the case. Imogen might look like her mother. Like, OP is obviously a piece of work, but it feels like we're really glossing over the fact that Jack, as a 35-year-old man, likely with a pregnant wife, slept with a troubled 19-year-old girl. Dude, an absolute creep. And it's even more ick that he refused to address any of it or OP's concern about their current friendship in marital counseling. Still though, OP definitely didn't have a right to kiss another man or try to manipulate his daughter. These two sound like quite the pair. He was 35 and she was 19? I didn't pay attention to the ages at all. Now I believe OP, because I refuse to believe that he wasn't at least trying to fuck Sophie. Honestly, him getting so defensive says that he was hoping that her coming back meant they'd rekindle. Wild speculation naturally, but OP and Jack are already getting a divorce and he didn't want to discuss anything regarding her. And him cutting off the counseling last minute felt off to me. I honestly wonder if he thought that since OP wouldn't trust him, that it was pointless to stay and hide anything. Him finding a new partner so soon after OP moved out also makes me think he was cheating, just not with Sarah. It read to me like Sophie was dating someone new and went to Jack for advice on this situation, since he seemingly dealt with the death of a partner/spouse as well. Without Jack's side, we'll never know why he gave up on counseling. Maybe he just woke up and realized it was over. Maybe he felt that she wasn't as invested as he was in the sessions. Maybe he was being gaslit, or the sessions just weren't as productive as he had hoped. We'll never know. But like, if that were the case the entire time in therapy, why wouldn't he just mention it? Or talk about it and OP's concerns at all? Him cutting off all conversation about it makes it shady AF. Like, the only thing OP did 100% wrong is in getting the daughter involved in the whole mess. Yeah, definitely he has feelings. Maybe Sophie sees him as a friend. He put the friendship before his own wife, so it seems there is something there. Also, her kissing another man seems to have damaged his feelings, as he appears to have no respect for the OP or her feelings. Only being with Sophie. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, like, comment, share, and subscribe.